the stock market is not the economy, but it is a very clear voting mechanism. And what's clear is that many institutional and retail investors think that the current economic regime is pushing us toward a recession that we don't have to have. Right? Donald Trump has insulated himself from any feedback loop or any sense of criticism that his tariff policy might not be the best course of strategy for American in industry or global relations. And as a result, what we have is, I think, fairly described as a kind of purposeful chaos. I mean, what other term can you use if a tariff is being announced at 9 a.m. and then taken away at 3:30 p.m. and then 10 days later announced at 9:37 and then renegotiated at 2:45? This is not a principled theory of the perfect tariff level on international trade. This is, I think, much more parsimoniously explained by just an expression of Donald Trump's personality. This is a New York real estate guy. He loves making big, awesome pronouncements and then using those big, awesome pronouncements in order to negotiate little one-on-one dealings where he can wrest for himself a personal sense of power or money or pride, right? Announcing these tariffs in a sort of chaotic way forces world leaders to get on the phone with him and say, Donald, what can I give you to bring down the tariff, right? This is personality standing in for politics in a way that's totally unmolested by anybody else's sense of, hey, that'll maybe chill it on the tariff policy. Hey, let's maybe slow down on the deportations. I'm not so sure about this particular move over here. Instead, you have an executive branch that's just a full manifestation of Donald Trump's mind. And I do think at the early returns, if you look at consumer sentiment, if you look at the stock market, if you look at the 10-year yield, you have a range of, let's call them, aggregated economic information telling us that the economy, consumers, employers, investors do not like what's happening now, which is going to be a really interesting test case. Donald Trump's first 4 years in office, right? Love him or hate him, were 4 rather successful years of economic growth. Low unemployment, steady growth, low inflation, pretty much every economic indicator in the green. We're already in the red in many of the economic indicators that never even blinked yellow under his first administration. And I personally don't think it's a coincidence that you're getting these red indicators at a time when Donald Trump is having an entirely different experience of being president, where there is no Mnuchin to tell him, hey, maybe let's cool it off on the tariffs. The one more thing I would add here is you said, maybe Trump's presidency is a kind of right-wing abundance. Right. And I think it's a worthy question, right? Is Donald Trump just doing his own version of abundance? And we should, even if we disagree with his process ideologically, sort of root for the outcomes that are likely under it. Here's why I don't think so. Let's say that you, or just someone as a conservative, shares our view that they want housing to be abundant. I think what they should really root for is to reduce the tax for building and make it easier to add housing units cheaply. Well, houses are made out of materials. 2 of the most important materials in home building are soft lumber and drywall. Soft lumber we import from Canada. Drywall, one of the key ingredients, we import from Mexico. One of the first things that's going to happen if you raise a 25% tariff on lumber from Canada and drywall from Mexico is that the cost of housing is going to go straight up. And this isn't my personal opinion. This was a March 7th memo sent by the National Association of Home Builders, essentially in a kind of controlled panic saying, please don't do a tariff policy like this. You're going to screw over home builders, even though, ironically, you, Donald Trump, were elected by Biden to Trump voters who were mad about the price of housing. So I am not, in the moment, optimistic that his centralizing style is going to be economically useful for Americans, whatever their interests. My sense of the early feedback and of the early returns is that he, in fact, does not have a very clear and beneficial economic agenda. He has a personal agenda. He likes taking phone calls from international leaders and working out little deals with them. I don't think that's in the larger interest of economic growth. And certainly I don't think it's in the specific interest of reducing housing prices.